Hello, everybody. Hello. I wanted to just take a couple seconds, couple minutes to first talk to you about all the new people here. Thank you so much for all the new people that are joining us on this page. I really appreciate you and I appreciate all of your support. We've had a huge influx over the last few days, and that is just amazing to see. Second of all, I want to thank all of our longtime supporters on the Diverge page. I value you and I value all of your opinions. Thank you for all the people who have sent me messages over this past weekend. I've had a ton of private messages and I love talking to everybody. Some very personal feedback based on, hello Shane, nice to see you. I received some very personal feedback based on my post this past Saturday. Some people believed it was very inflammatory. Other people were very much supportive of it. So I appreciate all of your feedback. It really has brought a lot of perspective to me. And I want to give you a little bit of backstory on that post because that post was an image that said, well, type 1 and type 2 can be controlled with diet. And a lot of people were up in arms about that. It's really interesting because most of the low carbers that the people on this page that I know follow low carb, many of you were very much supportive of that. And there were even people in the comments that said, you know what, I would have argued this post 5 years ago, but today I absolutely believe it. So I just wanted to tell you a quick little story about where that statement came from. And maybe I should have included this story in the actual post. Maybe it could have brought some perspective to the post itself. But here's my story. It was over 4 years ago. I had just moved to South Florida with my family, and I was getting to know some new people there, explaining what I do here at Diverge to a new friend. And she had a family history of type 2. So I was really stressing that, with this change in diet, low carb can very much help people with type 2 diabetes, oftentimes reduce or even potentially eliminate medications. And while we never say it's a cure or even a reversal, it can absolutely, absolutely help control blood sugar levels. And I said, and even for me as a type 1 for a long time, I'm hitting my 20-year mark, I said, even with type 1, it's been so amazing to follow low carb because really it makes things so much easier. And you take less insulin, everything just runs smoother. And it was a really huge change in my lifestyle to switch to low carb. And she said something to me. She turned to me, looked at me straight in the eye, and said something that I will never forget. She said, wow, I always knew that type 2 was controllable with diet, but I never knew that type 1 was as well. And I stopped because at first my skin just bristled and I was going to correct her. I was going to say, well, no, it's not exactly that. But then I had this momentary just flash. It was a paradigm shift that happened in an absolute second that I said, well, wait a minute. This way of eating has completely changed my life. It has completely changed how I manage diabetes. It has completely adjusted my mindset around diabetes. It has made all of these changes and it has made diabetes management easier. So I was already following low carb. I was already helping other people to follow low carb. Diverge had already been formed at that time, but I had never put it in that way. I had never framed it with those words, saying that type 1 can be controlled with diet. And it was, like I said, it was a momentary, very quick, very flash of a paradigm shift that I said, well, yeah, I guess it can be. I had never once thought about it in that term. And I know some of you bristled when I used the word control for type 1, that diet can control type 1. And certainly, yes, I had to put the disclaimers in there saying that I would never in a million years say that it cures type 1. It does not cure type 1. It does not take away the need for insulin. But if we look at it in comparison with type 2 and how we use the word control for type 2, it makes it more manageable. Diet makes type 2 diabetes more manageable. It doesn't take away all need for insulin. In fact, many people still need metformin along with diet to control or to, fully manage type 2 diabetes. And type 1s also need medication for that. So if you are comparing it to type 2s and how we use the word control for them, I suppose it all goes hand in hand. So really, for food is the first step in control for both type 1 and type 2 diabetes. And I just wanted to talk to you about that for a second. And so as I was curious about the standard definition of control, I had to look it up. So control dictionary, it says to exercise restraining or directing influence over, or to have power over. And that is exactly what food does for us with type 1 and type 2 diabetes. It matters what we put into our bodies, and what we put into our bodies makes diabetes management either easier or tougher. So those are our two options. And yes, we still need to have medication, whether we are most of the times type 2 still require medication, and all of the times type 1 still require medication. But food is where it all starts. And if you have been following low carb for a while, this is something that that you would recognize, even if you might not use the words or the terms that I had used previously. So I'm sorry if what I said, or I should say how I said it, offended you. I did not mean to offend anybody. I just wanted to put it out there, and maybe, like I said, I should have explained this a little bit further when I put it out there, and the statement that my friend made that really created a huge mindset shift for me when she said it 4 years ago, because I'd never considered it in those terms before. And maybe you've had the same mindset shift. Maybe you've also had that paradigm shift that said, you know what? Yeah, this is something that I have more control over than I ever would have imagined. And certainly low carb can help make diabetes easier, whether it is type 1 or type 2. So I wanted to express that. Thank you all for joining me here. I certainly appreciate your support. I appreciate everybody's support here at Diverge. I appreciate all the private messages and all the comments that I have received. And let's keep the conversation going. I don't mean to offend anybody, but I do also want to help you look at things in a different perspective. So I'm not out there just to post information to get a rise out of people. And if that happens sometimes, I want to talk about it. So I am not just here throwing my ideas out into the universe and saying that I'm the only one who matters here and my thoughts are the only ones that matter here. So I always want to remain approachable and honest and completely transparent with you guys, because that's what Diverge is all about. So thank you again. I appreciate you. And let's just get out there and realize that we are more alike than different, and we all have a story to tell. So I appreciate you and your stories, and share the word about low carb. Thanks. Talk to you later.